Hello, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet and you're watching a new episode on the Wojennik TV YouTube channel. Today I would like to invite you to another trip to the Pacific. I have already shown you several games covering the Pacific theater of World War II. I have shown you, for instance, Guadalcanal from Valle Victis or Midway Solitaire. Igor has already shown you some time ago Fire in the Sky. But today a game from another publisher treating about the whole World War II on the Pacific, and this game is called Across the Pacific, published in 2010 by Pacific Rim Publishing. This is a designing company which up until now was not a company from which I had presented any game. So this is the first game from Pacific Rim Publishing on our channel, and I'm really happy and proud that this happens. Across the Pacific was on my wish list for some time because I like the Pacific theater of World War II. I like games covering this interesting subject, so I was really happy to obtain a review copy of this game, and I will be really proud to prepare a future review of this title. Today an unboxing. I would like to show you how the components of this game look like, and then I would like also to give you my final thoughts about my expectations. This game was published, as I said earlier, in 2010. It was designed by Michael Myers. It is a game for 2 players aged 12 or higher, and the time of play, well, will depend on the scenario which you choose, because we have 3 scenarios in this game and the campaign mode. If you decide to play the campaign mode, well, the game will be a lengthy one because the time of play is estimated to be even 12 hours. The shorter scenarios, though, are much more accessible, so the time of play will be very shorter than 12 hours. Now let's take a look at all the components enclosed in this huge box. Here is the box of Across the Pacific. As you can see on the cover, we have some vessels, we have some aircraft, and in the middle we have a hand with a samurai sword, which symbolizes the Empire of Japan. On the back we have a possibility to look at the map board, at the counters which are enclosed inside. We have an information about what the game is about, then an information about also the different components enclosed in the game, and also an information about the scenarios or about the ways that the game can be played. Let's take a closer look inside. As you can see, the game box is rather big. It's not a standard game box. Compared to, for instance, GMT or Multiman Publishing boxes, this one is bigger. And here are the components enclosed in this box. So first of all, we receive, as I believe, the rulebook. And it's a rulebook composed of 24 pages. It's printed in black and white, so I do not see any examples of play, any colored information. Well, maybe apart the information about how to read the different parameters on the counters. So some reading will be required. I do not know if this rulebook will be relatively easy to be read. I will talk about this further during a future review. We receive also a second document, the player's handbook, the designer's notes, historical commentary, and examples of play. So I said a few moments ago that the rulebook doesn't have any examples of play. The reason is simple: those examples will be enclosed in this second document. And this document is 24 pages long. We have, well, the same types of information. So we have black and white standard pages with a lot of explanations of the abbreviations used in the game, with a lot of suggested reading. That's a great addition. I love it, because thanks to it we can then search through those many suggested sources in order to increase our knowledge about this conflict. Then we have some examples, the example of air combat, then we have also naval combat, etc. That's a nice addition. It's always good when there are some examples, especially if you are tackling a game in a system that you have not previously played. Then here we have an order of battle, the order of battle of the Imperial Japanese forces. This order of battle is in color, and we can see that there are different spots on this display where counters, where task forces will be placed during play. The second one will be surely the order of battle of the Allies, and here it is. More colors because there will be more nations. Among Allies we will find US forces, British forces, Dutch forces, so different nations, and all of them will have their own color. Then the map board, which is a paper map board but of a huge size. Let's take a look at it. Really huge, so that's a big one. And this map will represent all the playing areas, so all the Pacific, or almost all the Pacific, from the Aleutian Islands to Brisbane, Australia, and from the Hawaiian Islands to India in the west. So we have really a huge map, as you can see, a map where a hex grid is superimposed. Each hex will have its own number. We have also airfields, we have ports. So this is the entire Pacific theater where different units will be moved and where battles will be taking place during gameplay. The map, as I said, on paper, but it seems a map of high quality. And what I especially like is the fact that this map seems to be very functional. We will take a closer look at it later. Then we have some additional displays. Here is the Allied off-map stacking chart used for also carrier units. A similar one will be used by the Japanese, where different units will be placed. Then an additional information, this will be the task force composition. So here we will be placing units in different task force. As you can see, 2 of them, one for each side, as I believe. A combat results table, or rather combat results tables, used for the attackers and for the defender. Maybe both sides will use their own tables. Also torpedo dive bombing and level bombing information. This is double-sided, so here we have also tables used in naval surface combat, in air-to-air anti-aircraft strafing and airfield bombardment. So different tables, an additional one for kamikaze. An additional playing aid, which has the sequence of play. That's always a nice addition, because it's much easier to track the sequence on such an aid than looking for it in the rulebook. It's double-sided also, so here we have a possibility to take a look at the different counters which will be represented in the game. As you can see, many colors, many different unit types, but rather than looking at this, let's just take a look at those counters which are still in the counter sheets. So here we have, for instance, some vessels, some aircraft carriers, some destroyers, some battleships. As you can see, in opposition to many Pacific theater war games, the units will not be having their own names printed on the counters. So those will be generic counters. No Shokaku, no Musashi, no Akagi, just CV3 or BB4. The second counter sheet with infantry units, with aircrafts, with some additional forces. As you can see, those counters are of course double-sided with some numbers. So we do not have two steps when it comes to units. We have just numbers on the backs. Maybe those steps will be tracked in a different way. The third counter sheet with some additional aircrafts from both sides. As you can see, bombers and fighters also. And finally, two more counter sheets. Here we have the Allied Navy and aircraft. Here, as I can see, some information are not very well centered. So that's preoccupying, because as I can see, in some cases the information about the bonus is a little bit displaced onto the right. That's not a good information. Because of it might be difficult to read some information. I must take a closer look at it after the video. And finally, the last counter sheet with some generic counters, for instance, used to track controllers, I believe. Then also some additional ones against some units. So this is a counter where some different nationalities will also be present. And that's it. When it comes to the counters, the last component enclosed in this huge box is a small orange six-sided die, which will be used during play. And that's it. This is the complete list of the components enclosed in Across the Pacific. Let's pass on to a short conclusion. This was meant to be a conclusion, but after finishing my unboxing video, I decided to wait. I decided to contact Pacific Rim Publishing before publishing my unboxing video, and I decided to let them know that one of the counter sheets was wrong, that it was badly centered. And after a few days, I received an answer from Pacific Rim Publishing. As you can see, here is the response. Here is a replacement counter sheet for Across the Pacific. Also is the front and the back of the replacement and supplemental counters, including the bridge on the River Kwai, Thai-Burma Railway Rule. This took longer than I would have liked. Best, Karen B. So a big thank you, thumbs up to Pacific Rim Publishing. As you can see, I received this additional information, those additional counters, replacement counters, and some additional rules concerning the Thai-Burma Railway. And what is the most important, I also received a new counter sheet. As you can see, a counter sheet with the planes, with the aircraft fantastically centered without any displacement. So that's a great information, because I was a little bit worried that I will have to play with badly centered counters. It will not be the case. So here is a fine, good example of how customer care should work in the board gaming world. Now let's pass on to a conclusion. No surprises this time. A real conclusion is upcoming right now. This time it really is the conclusion of this video. Well, first of all, I would like to underline that I am very happy with the customer care delivered by Pacific Rim Publishing, because when I finished my unboxing of this game, my initial thought was to immediately publish this unboxing on YouTube and to give you the information that because I have found a badly centered countersheet, I will give this information to Pacific Rim Publishing and I will see what happens next. But then I decided to wait. So I have recorded the first part of this video some time ago, then I immediately contacted Pacific Rim Publishing in order to see what could be done with this issue. And the answer arrived pretty quickly. I was astonished to see that the reason why this answer was not an immediate one, but it took a few days, were some personal or rather professional problems due to the fact that guys from Pacific Rim Publishing not only publish games but have also other obligations, and those obligations proved to be dangerous one, and that was the reason why the answer was not a blitzkrieg tempo one. It took a few days before I received it. But after receiving this information, the correct countersheet arrived in a week or so, which for an overseas transport is really fast. So Pacific Rim Publishing, a big thank you to you. Your customer care, your customer service is of a very high quality, and I have prepared a short movie about my customer care experience with some board game companies some time ago. It was 1 or 2 years ago. It was created in Polish, so I believe many of you won't understand it. But the conclusion of this video was that all the board gaming companies which I contacted when I found out that some elements in my games were missing or badly cropped, badly rotated, reacted with great professionalism. They sent me all the missing parts almost instantly. So you are now part of this huge and very sympathetic family. Once more, thank you very much for providing me a correct countersheet of Across the Pacific. Thanks to you, I will be able to test this game without looking at badly centered counters, which I would really hate to do. So having said that, I have big expectations concerning the game. I love the components, the artwork. I love the number of counters, which is really huge. So managing all those counters will be a big challenge. I'm a little bit concerned by the maps size, because it is really huge. So there might be a logistical problem for some players to store such a map and to play the game, because the game is lengthy. So you will have to have a place where to put such a huge map and to leave it for some time. I will also see how the rules are written, because I haven't tested any of your games before and I'm really eager to try them. The rulebook is black and white, but I hope that it will be a well-written rulebook. In case of any difficulties, in case of any doubts, I will just contact you, or directly or through Board Game Geek. So as I said, big expectations. I will play my first game in some time, and after playing the game I will also prepare, of course, a review to give you all my opinion about this title. This was an unboxing of Across the Pacific from Pacific Rim Publishing. Take a look at our other movies. We have a lot of unboxings, of reviews. I hope that you will revisit our YouTube channel in some time. Have a fantastic day and see you next time.